Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, my fellow Pogosians. Or shall I say, possibly afternoon. Well, we'll go with that. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, representatives, officials, members of my cabinet, members of my delegation. Today is a very big day in our kingdom's history. After successfully passing the House of Commons, the Assembly of the Elders, and other branches of government, today is the day to actually get serious on an issue that has been plaguing the kingdom of the Pogo Islands for decades. Now's the time to sign a bill that will get that job done and will take care of that problem and start the path to getting that done and getting it under control. It's called crime. Crime is an issue that has been plaguing the kingdom of the Pogo Islands since I adhered to the throne of the kingdom of the Pogo Islands 21 years ago. I have taken this monarchy and this great kingdom, but for far too long, lawlessness has plagued our societies. Lawlessness has also plagued our government. On the streets, crime and violence has been plaguing Pogosian families for generations. Corruption has been plaguing the kingdom of the Pogo Islands' governing bodies at the island level, local level, and national level for far too long. Today is a bill to get all of those things under control today. It is called the Increased Federal Sentencing Penalties Act of 1985, and today I am proud as your king to sign that into law. Since I adhered to the throne of the kingdom of the Pogo Islands in 1964, between then and today, 11 January 1985, nearly 1 million Pogosians have been killed by other Pogosians, and hundreds of thousands more have been assaulted by others, have been beaten, mugged, robbed, stolen from, and much more. And it is all mostly because of the fact that the kingdom of the Pogo Islands has not been sufficiently punishing crime enough. Crime in itself was not even a topic of discussion or getting serious on the matter until 4 or 5 years ago. Just 3 years ago, the kingdom of the Pogo Islands had the worst homicide rate that the kingdom has seen in 100 years. More Pogosians were killed on record at any time in that long. In a century. Since the Titanic. That's how long. That no other time Even before Titanic, have we dealt with such an unbelievable surge in murder. And by reducing murder, we would be saving lives. But from 1964, when I took this throne, until now, murder has increased 48%. And it has luckily been going down for the last 2.5 years. But now with it going down, now's the time to take advantage of that. But we need to do more. And with this comprehensive bill to get tough on actual crime, then we can get the job done and protect lives and protect Pogosian communities and their families. And for far too long, Pogosian politicians have been engaged in some of the most corrupt practices that has ever been known. From taking bribes to abusing their office as a representative. We're also talking about violence, but we're also talking about corruption. Corruption is public enemy number one. What shall we do about the actual crime that affects people's lives? The message to get tough on the actual crime is to sufficiently punish the crimes that affect people's lives. And make no mistake about it, I am also talking about corruption, because corruption is the number one enemy to a healthy, peaceful, and economically prosperous society. So therefore, under the Increased Sentencing Penalties Act of 1985, corruption will be made a felony and not just a misdemeanor. It will be a felony. From taking bribes to abusing your authority to giving gifts to others. And with that, count to 3, there will not be a 4, will be the law of the Kingdom of the Pogo Islands nationwide. That if you are convicted for the 3rd time of a violent felony or a sexual felony, you will spend the rest of your days behind bars. And the penalty for murder will be death. And the penalty for corruption will start at 10 to 20 or 30 to 40 years, depending on the amount of money that has been taken or the severity of the corruption. Corruption will be a felony with mandatory minimum penalties. For far too long, the Pogo Islands has dealt with politicians taking bribes, and as far too often has been focused on prosecution authorities relying on bribes, police officers relying on bribes, police officers literally letting criminals get away or giving them a slap on the wrist, judges giving slaps on the wrist, taking bribes. Bribery and corruption has been affecting all of us, has been affecting our educational systems, our healthcare system, has been affecting our court systems, and has been affecting our governments. But under this law, we will say that your days of corruption and taking bribes will be over. It's coming to an end. Not later, not tomorrow, today. My message, generally speaking, has been this. If you do not feel safe in your own community, if you do not feel safe in your own home, in your school, in your university, or anywhere, on the streets, in your own motor vehicle, you are not free. And if you have corruption at all levels of government, then you are also not economically prosperous. And we'll make sure that all of these people who are convicted of these crimes, and when I'm talking about crime, I'm talking about crimes that should be crimes. Crimes that should have been crimes all along. And that have been crimes and are crimes in every single society. Because without law and order, without the rule of law, and without a court system that is free from corruption, all court systems, judicial systems, prosecution authorities, police authorities should all be free of corruption. And should all be free from any type of outside influence. It should only be focused on the law and enforcing that. Because what is going to be signed in here today, which is toughened penalties for crimes that should be crimes, will be the law. And we will also make it to where prosecution authorities will be able to have their statute of limitations. But now, under this bill, on and from today, the 11th day of January, 1985, we will be abolishing statute of limitations at the national level, meaning that any national crime of the Pogo Islands can be prosecuted at any time, no matter how minor or how serious, whether you committed that crime yesterday or way further down the line, years from now, you will still be held accountable. This means that no matter how many days or years have passed, if you, no matter what the crime is, whether one day has passed or 50 years have passed, you will not escape the justice for your act of violence, degradation, or corruption. And by degradation, I mean assault, battery, and everything. And we will make it to where they will face those penalties for crimes that should be crimes. If it has a victim, it should be a crime. If it doesn't have a victim, then it shouldn't be a crime. But when it does have a victim, and a serious one at that, whether it's a child, a pregnant woman, or serious physical injuries result, the penalties will be swift and severe. And when I say swift, I don't mean swift in the sense of quick, meaning you will get off scot-free and you will get out early or anything like that. Meaning that the penalty will be slow, meaning you will be in prison for a very long time. And we will make it to where we will be building more Pogosian prisons and penitentiaries to put the violent criminals in, and build more drug rehabilitation centers to put drug addicts in. Because now, I've had disagreements with some of my colleagues about drug offenders. The drug offenders, simple possession, they need help. It's not the drug possessors that need to be punished. They need to be helped. It's the drug dealers and traffickers and smugglers that need to be punished, because the people that they are affecting, the addicts, are the victims. And not only that, the pharmaceutical companies responsible for producing or manufacturing any of these addictive substances, you will pay a heavy price for poisoning our societies. And make no mistake about it, we will also be passing a comprehensive wealth tax on the kingdom of the Pogo Islands that will be used to pay for more treatment beds for drug addicts and more prison beds for the violent criminals that actually have a victim. The drug addicts will get treatment beds, and the violent criminals will have a place to sleep at night where they will be spending many, many years to pay for their debt to society. Everybody will be held accountable for this. Everybody. The penalty for drug trafficking and smuggling, or being in possession of more than specific amounts that constitutes drug trafficking, the penalty for that will be death or life in prison. Drug possessors will be undergoing mandatory treatment. They will not be treated as criminals. They will be treated as having a medical problem. But drug dealers and distributors and those responsible for inducing those to have their lives altered because of a drug addiction, they will be spending a great number of years behind bars. And it's all about responsibility. Our parents taught us that. My parents taught that if you break something, you pay for it. I've done that multiple times. I've done that multiple times. I've done that multiple times. I've broken something. I've paid for it. It's about taking responsibility for your own actions, and have to understand that there are consequences for your actions. The concept of if it has a victim, it should be a crime. That's about having consequences for your actions. And for far too long, we have seen court system and judges, one after another, literally letting people get away with murder. But after today, with this comprehensive bill that is both a tough on crime bill, but is also a reform act in addition, the days of getting away with murder and getting slaps on the wrist for serious offenses, those days are over. Make no mistake about it. You have to have a safe society in order to be free. We're seeing positive reductions in the crime rates nationally. But with this bill, we will get the job done, and we will make sure that we will get to be one of the world's safest nations by the next decade. We've got the tools in the toolbox. We need to know how to use them and fix the problem. And I'm proud here today to represent multiple people. Many domestic visitors and international visitors who have come to attend this signing of the largest criminal justice sentencing act in a generation. And that we have seen people get away with crime one after another. We will not let that continue. We cannot continue. We cannot spare more lives. We have already passed comprehensive criminal justice. Criminal justice reform is included in this bill. This is to eliminate all of the, simple possessors and get them the treatment that they need. But if anyone thinks that I'm going to be soft on the violent criminals and criminals that actually have a victim, you're sadly mistaken. And more importantly, we will be making sure that when we will use the police budget responsibly to make sure that all of our police forces, our island police services and forces, the National Offense Investigation Service, the Public Prosecution Authority, local police services in individual cities, regional sheriffs, island-level constables. We will be putting Pogosian police into places to actually help our communities. They will be there to help you. And we will be making sure that we will be using our police budget so that way we will have safer communities. And for no longer will there be Pogosian police officers engaging in acts of misconduct, bribery, abuse of office, or brutality. Any of them responsible will be removed from their police rankings, and they will face prosecution for their actions. And with my sense of being free, I talked to someone. In 1981, I was at a campaign speech for Governor Ira Victoria for the Northern Island. And I was asked by an immigrant, a man who has emigrated from Malaysia, and he has told me that, Your Majesty, I have seen this is such a great place to be, but I don't truly feel free. I might be doing better in the Pogo Islands economically because Malaysia, well, it is doing great under Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, a good friend of mine, by the way, was saying that I feel safer there than I do here. Because I can't walk to work and go out and get physical activity because I don't feel safe. I feel like someone's going to mug me, stab me, or shoot me. Well, I told him, I said, well, there is stuff in the works. And I promised that young man. And his name was Abdul. And that campaign promise, after today, is coming true. So as a result, we'll be making sure that if you want your child to be able to be free walking to school because you want them to get more exercise, or if you feel that you want to walk to work because you want more exercise, or driving your motor vehicle and not stopping at a red light or having to feel like you have to drive through the red light because you're afraid you're going to get carjacked or shot or worse. Well, what's worse than being shot? Well, those days will be over because those responsible for carjacking will serve a mandatory minimum 20 years to life in prison, and if a person dies at the hands of a carjacker, will spend the rest of their life in prison or be sentenced to the death penalty, plus caning. And that brings me to my next point. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. To the next point with regards to that. We will be reinstating judicial corporal punishment for severe violent offenders. This includes murderers and rapists and other dangerous violent offenders. Some will say that judicial corporal punishment is cruel. Some will say that after Malaysia and Singapore have enacted it, two very closely aligned countries to the Kingdom of the Pogo Islands, that judicial corporal punishment is cruel. Well, I don't agree. Because if you did not show your victim mercy, why should we show you mercy? And last but not least, we'll be taking measures, and we'll be remembering this, a day in our history where the Kingdom of the Pogo Islands actually took this hot button issue seriously. We are here to punish the actual crimes, not the victimless ones. But when it does have a victim, we're going to punish it severely. And we're going to make sure, without infringing on the rights of those who want to own weapons, My measure is this, that those who want to own or maintain a firearm must pass a background test with a clean criminal record. That any person convicted of a criminal offense for which you have been sentenced to a term of imprisonment, you are forever prohibited from owning or obtaining a firearm. Any felony or violent misdemeanor or violent felony is grounds for unable to being able to obtain a firearm or own one for the rest of your life, irrespective of whether or not a prison sentence is imposed in the latter. And you must pass an IQ test, a psychiatric mental health test, a training test, and a fingerprint test. So you have to take all sorts of necessary tests. And some will think that, well, it's not easy to own a fire. It's not easy to get a gun. I want Pogosians to have the right to own weapons if they want to own weapons. But we will also be making sure that nobody under the age of 18 will have any kind of firearm. And that if those 20 or above, that's the minimum age for owning a handgun or any other kind of weapon that fires high capacity magazines. So as a result, with all of this being said, comprehensive safety measures, comprehensive reforms in justice, and increased sentences for the actual crimes, I am proud to sign that bill in here today, along with my colleague, with Prime Minister, with my Prime Minister here, Janet Gorman, who has held this office for the last 4 years and is up for re-election. And I encourage you to vote for her. Over the past 21 years, I have worked with a total of 5 prime ministers. And nobody has worked harder than this Madam Prime Minister over here in terms of getting this bill here. And she will sign the bill first, and then I will sign that bill, and that bill will be coming into law. And it will take effect immediately here today as the clock strikes noon. Thank you very much. Okay. First, the Prime Minister signs the bill. And the King signs the bill. All right, everybody. Thank you.